All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to our November's window shopping episode. So, welcome, first of all. If you have no idea what this series is, every month I like to talk about trends in the marketplace, and it's on NA, so keep that in mind. But I like to talk about things in a way that affects most regions, including consoles. I like to give advice on whether something might be worth making, buying, and or just looking to enhance for profit. So overall, you could check the series out, check the previous months out. I'll leave a link in the description to the playlist. You could watch everything else. And we got a lot to talk about in this episode because this, or I guess the past like week or two, they made a change on various life skill things where materials, the hard cap is increased. So that makes a lot of life skill materials, foods, consumables, and like potions and everything more expensive. So I want to talk about the notable items along with the standard things. So whether you're a new player or someone who's like transitioning into the end game and looking to like maybe think of from going from like a Kzarka boss gear to Blackstar or something, we'll look at the prices of all of those and see from month to month what changed and everything. So, with that said, let's talk about the weapons and then go to accessories and consumables. And I want to switch it up this month and not spend so much time in each category, but we'll just look at trends and I'll tell you my opinions of it. So, as for weapons, they're all within the same range these days, so it doesn't matter which one I look at in particular. So first of all, if you're a new player and you're wondering, should I get like a Kzarka to get early on? If you're doing the Jatina's quest for the first time, the weapon, I have a video of it and showing you how to do it step by step, all the materials needed, how to get the materials, and actually how to do it. So the first weapon you make will be a total of 6.5 billion silver, and I know this because that's how much we spent on it, and a lot of materials are flat priced. So 6.5 billion, if you can get it for under, like the Kzarka, for example, for literally a bill less, it's definitely worth just buying it off the market and doing the Jatina for the guarantee. So yeah, if we look at a month trend from October to now, it super tanked. And I think the reason why that the prices has just overall been declining is the more time that passes when people play, people are transitioning into Blackstar weapons. So it just overall makes it slower or less valuable. And it's not to say that Kzarkas are bad. It's just like, it's not the best in slot anymore, but it's not bad either. So I think if you're just like starting out the game, you get your first 5 billion silver and you're just like, oh, and you want a Kzarka, I think it's still a good thing because the next step up would be Capricing or a Blackstar, which is significantly more expensive and what we'll be looking at right now. So we talked about a Kzarka, and that was 5 billion. The equivalent of that is a Tet Blackstar at 14 billion. The reason why it's more expensive is because Blackstars are more for PvE, and it gives you the extra monster damage, so like it is actually better for like grinding, which is a lot of what this game is. So yes, it is better on the PvE scale, but it's like 9 billion silver more. So that's why I said getting a Kzarka is not a bad option. And you can also Caprice it, and it just like makes you get incremental gains, so you're good. So yeah, Kzarka, or not Kzarkas, Blackstars, they are actually going up in price as of the last month. And like if at a month ago from this day, it was like 14 and a half. And right now it looks like it's at 15. That just means the median, the price exactly is like more or less staying the same. So like the median before was like 14 and a half. The median would be like 15.3, as you can see. So realistically, it did go up, but it's not by a lot like this chart. You know how like that stonks meme where it's just going up? it's like 1 billion difference realistically, and the prices of Blackstars fluctuates so often to the point where, like, if you're thinking about buying it, like the difference between like 13 and 14 billion, if you're at the stage of the game where you're looking to actually get one, it's whatever. 1 billion is like maybe an hour or two of grinding at worst, and you'll be fine. So it's whatever. Just buy it if you're at that stage of the game. All right, next. People also have asked me about God Eye and Blackstar. I actually have an individual video of that one where I go into more detail of like each bracket and is it worth going God Eye versus the Blackstar. So that's another one I'll leave in the description. There probably is going to be like a bunch of links of other videos, but those are just more for more detailed and just people who are actually curious to know. So yeah, God Eye versus Blackstar video, I'll leave that in the description if you want to watch it. It's more detailed, and I explain why is it worth it, and is it like good to get it, and what points you should stop at for every like price point. As for Offin, there is really no reason to be going Offin these days. There is a very small bracket or window of like your AP to the point where it might be worth it, but with how easy it is to gear these days in this game, it's like I just can't justify people, because you're going to be selling it back to the market eventually, and you're going to be losing it on tax. So I think realistically Kzarka is better, especially if you do more things, because there's more accuracy and everything. So back in the day, I remember using an Offin. I just don't think it's that good anymore. Like, the way people go is Kzarka into Blackstar or God Eye. So that's the way it is. That's just my opinion. And if you want to know why, video in the description to God Eye and everything. And I talked about Offin versus Kzarka many times in the past. Okay, let's talk about awakening weapons. So it's more or less the same thing. Nowadays, if you get out of seasons, chances are you're going to have a dandelion weapon, because that's what it gives you when you exchange your boss gear to Jatina at the end. So you're going to be here, and chances are you're going to be at Tet and or Pen. So we talked about the Jatina quest being 6.5 billion silver, which is roughly what it's at now. So like if you had 5 billion silver, what I would do is buy that Pen Kzarka, and then do the Jatina for the Vediot, or like your awakening weapon. And it's roughly going to be either the same, but if you can get it cheaper, just like off the market, and just buy it, then obviously you get the cheaper version. So the difference is between Dandy and Blackstar and God Eye, kind of the same thing. Mostly just extra damage for PvE, extra monster damage. And this one is a little bit different, because the price of awakening weapons has always been statistically higher than the main hands. So I also think that main hand is worth more than the awakening to an extent. The reasoning why is if we look at these weapons, you see how this weapon gives, like my Blackstar, it gives 212 accuracy at Pen, right? And then if we look at the Vediant, there is very minimal accuracy. And so whether you're doing any sort of PvPing or just high-end grinding, accuracy is very important, to the point where I think that always going for the main hand weapon is worth more than anything. So just keep that in mind. And then Blackstar versus God Eye, once again in the video, you can watch that to see if it's right for you. All right, sub weapons. This one is a little bit tricky because every class does something different, and I'll give you the general basics of it. So if you're a new player, Kutum is your PvE grinding offhand. The reason why is because it gives you a lot of extra monster damage, and that's basically equivalent to AP, but for like grinding PvE stuff. Nouver is more your PvP, it gives you more AP, but it doesn't really give anything else. There's no monster damage, it's just straight AP. So let's look at the trends of last month. Last month it was about 10.5 to 11 billion. It went up. It's like wow. And now it's like less than 10. So I guess if you're looking in the market for a Kutum, now is probably the best time to get it. I have a feeling it'll probably go up throughout the month, but like if you're thinking about getting it, just make it now or get it now. Nouver. So as you guys know, in most games in this, like in just the gaming industry, more people are into PvE than PvP. That's just across the board. So BDO is not an exception where PvP is more valuable. So if you are into PvP, get it. It's not like dead by any means, in that I actually have one myself, and like I have my PvP and PvE option, so it's definitely worth getting. It's just it's a little bit cheaper, but not by much. If you are enhancing for profit, there's like the 3 Blackstars we talked about: the main hand, awakening, and offhand, right? The offhand is generally the worst value one to make, because like if you are enhancing it, the Kutum at Capris 20 at Pen is the equivalent of a Pen Blackstar. Now the difference is that having a Kutum at Capris 20, the difference of like stats is very minimal, to the point where it's might not even be worth investing the extra 30 or so billion silver into a Blackstar unless you like having all your weapons like be the same and look the same. So if you like aesthetics, it's good, but realistically you're trading about like a few monster AP damage with Kutum Capris 20 for a few accuracy for the Blackstar. So like Kutum has more accuracy, Blackstar has more monster damage. So minimal value. Will you really see the change? Probably not. So that's why it's not worth it. So it's on the rise again, Tet Blackstar. If you already have a what is it, Pen Kutum, is it worth converting? Probably not. If you can get it at Pen, let's say your Kutum is at like Capris 0 to 9 or whatever, 14, and you're thinking about getting a Pen Blackstar, yeah, it might be worth it at that point. But if you're like at hard max Capris, Kutum versus the Pen Blackstar, it's probably not that much more valuable or anything. So just keep that in mind. Worst value in terms of enhancing for profit, you would want to make it for the awakening weapon. All right, so armors. As we all know, the end game goal is to get the fallen god armors like the Dawn Glove, the armor, and the Libresca. So I'll go over this exactly one time and we'll talk about it. So first of all, your ultimate goal is to get a Griffin or Gaiath to Capris 10 at Pen, and then grind for the Flame or just buy it, and then convert to Libresca, which is current best in slot for every class. So for everyone who's looking to make it themselves, here's what stacks I have used. I've gotten all of mine to Tet by myself, and I've done it with more or less struggle for various pieces. So let's say you have a base. What stack would I use? I would start at an 80 to 100. They give out like 100 stacks like candy these days, so if you use 100, it's not a big deal. And then so 100 to, I don't know, whenever it goes. And then from Pride to Duo, I would probably start at like, I guess if you have another 100 or like a 120, you could start. I would probably recommend that like a 120 or higher. And then 120 to 150 from Pride to Duo. And then from Duo to Tri, I would probably recommend starting at like a 150, going up to 200. And then from Tri to Tet, I personally have hit all mine on 245s because that's what I had at the time. But keep in mind that a Tet is worth more than like a Blackstar, for example. So I think the value of the item is like, it's worth using the higher stack you have. I would probably go like hard cap for going for Tet at like a 260, maybe 270, but like realistically 250, 240 probably good enough. That's what I've hit all mine on, 245s. So just keep in mind that I wouldn't be too reserved. Just use like the highest stack you have for the most part, and go for Tet because it is a valuable item. So yeah, let's look at the Griffin and Gaia real quick. It went up, but it's not like a lot more up, probably like 1 billion difference. The ultimate goal is to get the Libresca anyway, so if you can buy a prize, or like if you could just buy it up to like duo and then enhance try and Tet yourself, chances are you're going to be like you'll be able to do it cheaper, assuming you have the stacks and or know how to fail stack. So generally I think that most people on average will be able to get a Tet cheaper than the cost it is to buy it if you just know what you're doing. The difference between Griffin and Gaia is 5 resistance versus, or 5% resistance versus 100 HP, and it's so minimal these days. But it's like if you do any sort of PvPing at a certain gear point, like people just do so much damage to the point where whoever gets CC'd first loses. So that 5% resistances would actually, it could save you in a PvP fight. So I think that is more valuable. But if you only like grind an hour a day in your Marnie realm and there's like 0 PvP, it really doesn't matter. Maybe this 100 extra HP will help you, but at the end of the day, what I would do is get the one that's cheaper, get enough Capris to like how much are Capris these days? 2.6, 2.7. Let's get it to Capris 10, or buy the Libresca, whatever, Fallen God armor itself, and then you'll be fine. Same thing goes with the Fallen God armor and the gloves. The same stacks apply, and the difference between Red Nose and Dim Tree is the Dim Tree would cost more to Capris at Pen Capris 10 to convert to Fallen God. Why? I don't know, but it is what it is. So just make sure to check the Capris price and then do some basic math to convert, like, is it worth it to buy it versus just buy like the Red Nose versus the Dim Tree. So 12.6 compared to like, it's roughly the same as last month for the realistically. 9.5, which is actually down, which is good. Just keep in mind, if you can get a Dim Tree, just calculate the extra cost of how much it would cost you from every level to get it to Capris 10 before you convert it, just so you make sure you realize you're not actually spending more on one or the other. I don't actually know how much of a difference it is. I think it's like maybe 1,000 extra Capra stones, which is like 3 bill, but I'm not 100% sure on that. You just look up a guide, but generally just whatever's cheaper, or you know, just straight up skip that entire process and buy it and then enhance it yourself. That's what I would do. All right, gloves. This is where things change a little bit, because this is where we convert or think about evasion versus DR. And it's a little bit tricky because there's a lot of new players in this game, and they kind of ask people like, you know, streamers like myself and or like other people, is DR or evasion better? And it depends on what you do. If you are PvPing, evasion is better, but it's at very high end levels. So like, I think the general rule of if you have to ask whether you should go DR or evasion, the answer would be DR. But one of those things that you just kind of know over time by your class. Like, the way you would figure this out is look at whatever your class you have, and then under the passive tab, every class you play will have a certain passive item or set of points. And then if your class gives evasion, like by the passives, your class is evasion. That's the general rule, by the way. All classes, well, not all. Some classes can do hybrids. Most are better at evasion. Every class can do DR, but that's like end game topics that we talk about. So just look at your passive. Does it give evasion? Then your class is evasion. If it doesn't, then you're DR. Okay, so let's talk about this. Beg's Gloves is the DR accuracy version. I personally use this myself. Dark Knights are not evasion classes. And let's look at it at a pen. The price is more or less the same. I think that if you were to get your first pen for something, first of all, do the Magnus quest. It's a bunch of quests. I know it took me like 6 hours on the day or the first day it came out. It's probably done a lot faster now because day one for me there was a lot of bugs and everything. It is what it is. But I would probably go with the chest armor piece first, followed by the helmet, and then maybe gloves or whichever one. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. But anyway, Liebers is the evasion one, which is actually higher, or it went up as of last month. 10 billion versus 12 billion. I think there are more classes that use DR over evasion anyway, so that makes sense why accuracy and DR is more important. When you convert them at Capris 10 to like the Fallen God armor and Labresca, the Dawn Glove is basically the equivalent. So blue is accuracy, green is evasion, and the same fail stacks apply as before. So you would just have to grind the flame and then do the quest line and land at a morning light. So this is not a beginner item. It's more of an end game thing. So like if you're worried about, oh, I have to complete the whole land at the morning light region. It took me 6 hours on day one. Yeah, I know. It is what it is, but yeah. It's not bad. Same rules apply for the other pieces. Now, as we all know, we don't have the Fallen God shoes yet. It's going to be called the Ator shoes, as far as I understand. And it's basically going to be the equivalent of these other pieces. And then when it comes out, probably either later this month or next month, we'll be doing our enhancing on that as usual. So you guys can stick around, and I actually do follow the advice I give you guys. So if you want to see like what I did to get it, you'll see that whenever it comes out. Urgon's is the equivalent of DR. It is kind of expensive in my opinion. So you know what I said about the Magnus of getting the chest armor first? I would honestly, I take that back and just get the one that costs more so you don't have to buy it. Eventually you'll get all of them. It's not a big deal. And you'll be fine. Muskins is the evasion equivalent. It is a lot cheaper actually, but don't be fooled. I know you're like, oh, that's 5 billion cheaper. And just keep in mind, you look at the stats where look at the tooltip and be like, oh, evasion and DR. So just make sure to know what it is. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Happy to help all of you guys. Like, do you know what, if you don't know what class you're, or like what build your class is, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. All right, so let's talk about accessories now. This is where things get a little bit tricky. I'm going to explain this very quickly. So, Ominous Ring, accuracy, more for PvPers. It is pretty decent. Monos is life skill. Tungrad is best in slot AP. Eye of the Ruins and Ring of Crescent Guardians are like entry level AP accessories. The Eye of the Ruins give more HP. So I was at a point before where I was like, should I go for Eye of the Ruins versus Tungrad? So the difference is 1 AP versus survivability of HP. And the thing I've been actually watching for quite a while is the Pen Tungrad rings. And when I bought mine, it was like 90 to 100 billion. And now it's like 135. That's kind of wild, actually. So we're going to keep this in mind. So a Pen Tungrad is 135 billion, and it gives 21 AP. Keep that in mind. Eye of the Ruins is 20 AP, so one difference, but you get an extra 130 HP, and it's only 84 billion. So that's the difference of like 50 plus billion silver for 1 AP. And we're talking about at the end game point, where I think that if it was like a 10-15 billion difference for 1 AP versus 830 HP, I think that would be more like, oh, I guess I should save up for that 1 AP. But when it's at like a 60 billion silver difference, I truly do think that like Pen Eye of the Ruins is not a bad option for survivability for 1 HP or 1 AP. So I've actually been watching that over time. I personally, I don't regret any decisions I've made. And then Crescent Ring, just do the Jatina, get one for free, and it's like 60 billion. So, well, it's not free, but it's guaranteed to get it without enhancing. So I would always recommend new to intermediate level players to get the Pen Crescent from Jatina. It's a free 65 billion. Free, I mean, as in like you won't fail and go bankrupt doing it. So that's always good. It's just doing a bunch of dailies. Yeah, Ominous Rings. I've actually thought about getting one at some point, but with the whole drop rate event going on right now, people are grinding Dekia Thornwood and getting Ominous Rings for days, and that's why the price is mega tanked right now. All right, so necklaces. Deboreka is the best in slot AP one. It's very difficult to enhance the pen. I'm actually going for this at the moment as well, so one of those things. Lunar is the 8 or accuracy necklace. Ogre, Tungrad, and Leighton. Ogres, 80 billion. Leighton's are also 80 billion. They're the same thing, by the way. They just have a different name and picture. Tungrads are also 80 billion. So if you're in the market for one of these three, always get the Tungrad necklace because it gives an extra 20% Black Spirit Rage, and it's the same price. So for whatever server you're on, assuming the prices are not the same, just get the one that's cheapest. They all give the same AP stats. The difference is this one gives an extra Black Spirit Rage, which is more used in PvP. So whichever one is the cheapest on your server, get that one. And then eventually if you do some PvPing or you just want best in slot, it's either Deboreka or accuracy. So I thought about this, but I did want a Deboreka more. So let's keep that in mind. Pick whichever one your build goes for you. I want a Deboreka earring just because it looks cool, and I wanted the reset effect eventually. So right now, most people either have a Black Disto or a Vaha's Dawn, and then everyone else will probably have like Narc earrings or a Deboreka. So same thing, Deberekas will always be top AP, but it is very hard to get right now in the current state of the game. So most people will have Distos or Dawns are the accuracy. Distortions at Pen are... it has gone up a little bit, but it doesn't feel like it has gone up that much. If you're wanting to buy it at like 160, just put an order at 160. It'll fill within a few days or something. And the difference between Distos and Dawns are the exact same thing. It's just how you get them. One you can get from grinding, one is from the dungeons. So whichever one is cheaper, just buy those and then you'll be fine. Dawns are the accuracy. It's actually harder to recommend the Dawn earrings versus Ominous now, because I actually had a chart at some point where the AP trade-off for accuracy is a little bit different, and I also calculated the price. I think I have a video of that, but either way, with Deberekas and Distos being a combination now, I think most people are going for the Ominous Ring route. So I don't know, it could work for you. You're basically trading off survivability for a little bit of AP, and whichever you think goes well within your build, just work with that. Narcs are like the hybrid one, and it gives AP and DP. So I don't think it's bad. I personally have one Narc earring myself. I got this from the Jatina. And so a pen is like a little less than 60 billion. It's kind of falling. That's good, I think. So if you want more survivability, I personally use this. There's a lot of good grind spots in Kama Sylvia. So that's why I think like the extra 8 Kama Sylvian damage plus the survivability, it allows you to grind new spots in general. So I think that's overall good. And as for belts, once again, Deboreka, max AP, best in slot. Turo is the accuracy. Basilisk and Voltara are like the entry AP ones. This one is like the Eye of the Ruins with HP. So actually, let's look at this one. Pen Bassi, about 50 billion. Pen Voltara at like 60 billion. I personally think the extra 125 HP is worth the 10 bill upgrade. So if you're thinking about getting one or the other, I would probably go for the Voltara. I personally have one myself. So, and then Tungrad, it's just hard to recommend this. 1 AP is probably not worth the extra 30 billion in my eyes, because with 30 billion, I can think of a lot of other upgrades that are worth it. But Deboreka is best in slot. Accuracy is very important as well. So if you're getting one, just make sure it works in your build. Tabek's belt is the one from the Land in the Morning Light. This one is like a gimmick belt because here's how it works. It gives you an extra skill, like from base to pen. You see the little like skill thingy? It gives you AP and DP for 60 seconds when using it and accuracy. Here's the catch. You can use it and get like 1 minute of a huge buff, but you can't like you can't use the belt and you can't use the skill and then swap to another belt. Once you use it, you're stuck using that belt for the next like 10 minutes. So that's the trade-off. I don't personally think it's that good because like you're trading off a lot of AP for a 1 minute skill and then you can't swap off. So you have to like know what you're doing with it. And it's the burst window is not really worth it in my eyes. So it might be a fun gimmick thingy to use someday, but right now it's just not. But yeah, next, what I wanted to talk about was the change in consumables, because they recently added something with elixirs and just materials for life skillers in general. So one important thing that we all like to talk about is like the perfumes. Those went up in price. The hard cap used to be like what, 13.5 million per, and now it's still going up, so that's good. Frenzies are actually going down. Remember when they were sold out and people were just hard ordering them at like 4.5 million each, and now they're like not. This is why I made a video of understanding the marketplace and what not to do. People were buying out all the frenzies thinking it was going to go up, and then they made the change with the material cost. And here we are, like, I'm pretty sure the people who bought like thousands of them and then are now selling it back at a loss. This is why you don't do that, but it is what it is. People who are buying frenzies to actually grind, now is a good time. Yeah, and all the elixirs of everything, they made fruits and truffles more obtainable now, which is actually amazing. I never thought they would do that. Anyone who's ever grinded with full elixir rotations, you know that getting or gathering truffles is actually one of the worst things we've ever done. And so now that within like the next month, it might actually be more obtainable, getting like frenzy elixirs and everything. Yeah, that's good. So everything is like just kind of on the rise. You might actually see elixirs within the next month. It's still new, but within like the next month or two, you probably see elixirs that you normally would have seen sold out just sitting. So I think that's good overall. And yeah, everything is changing with like saps and just the quantity of materials for life skillers. So just make sure to keep an eye on the life skill market for all of you who are life skillers or just people who craft your own elixirs and potions for whatever reason. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, that's pretty good. So this video has been 35 minutes, and for the most part, I think I covered the items that I wanted to. And Monos is basically the same thing, life skill gear. So that's basically it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions on how do I build, or like what should my next progression gear be, join the Discord. I have a screenshot for like questions and gear help and everything. So feel free to just ask, and I'm happy to point you guys in the right direction. And if you're new to the channel, I just want to say welcome, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to see you guys come back. Hit that subscribe button for all of you. I try to post regularly. My videos are mostly for people who are beginners, people who are looking to get better, and or returning players. So you'll find a lot of information about various things on this channel, and yeah, hopefully at least my videos help you. And also, if you're one of those people who just don't like commenting, or you're just shy, in my Discord, I have a channel where we have all my guides. They're all organized, all the latest ones, in my opinion. I try to keep that organized. So if there's something you're looking for, but you just don't want to talk to anyone, that's cool too. We have a channel in the Discord. You can just look up any guide. You don't have to talk to me. You don't have to talk to anyone. So that's cool as well. But anyone else, if you want to leave a comment asking for help, join the Discord, leave it in the YouTube comments. Happy to point you in the right direction. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So have a fantastic day. Peace.